Junkie, addict, criminal. Those aren't words you'd typically use to describe one of the country's top triathletes. But then again, Shane Niemeyer isn't your typical competitor. Based here in the endurance training mecca of Boulder, Colorado, the 38-year-old athlete has followed a path that's been anything but conventional.
If I kind of was set on a dark road when I was 15, if I could distill it down to one day, it was with my friend. We got a bottle of wild turkey. We went out to a country road in Illinois and just started passing it back and forth. I was new in this area in Illinois, having been transplanted from California. I was insecure, like a lot of adolescents were. I was angry at the world because I loved California and I kind of hated Illinois. Trying to fit in with a peer group that was foreign to me. Getting drunk that day washed all that away, all those anxieties and insecurities. Got my first DUI when I was 16. Started getting in trouble with the law, and eventually led me to experimenting with harder drugs.
It was a slow descent into hell for him, and it was obvious to several of us.
I'd reached a point in my life where I cannot stop using drugs and alcohol. Then at least I can exhibit one last display of self-control, and I can choose to end my life. At this time, I'm incarcerated, and I knew when the guard's rotation was, and I knew that I could hang myself from this railing. So I jumped. The next recollection that I have, I'm in the medical unit. You don't have access to anything. There's a Bible in there. And I didn't want to read the Bible at all. At random intervals, I just kind of would get up and freak out, begging them to give me something to occupy my mind. They'd slid an outside magazine under the door. There was an article in there about Boulder, Colorado, being the home of a lot of triathletes, and it talked in particular about the ultra-distance triathlon called Ironman. They recounted the distances of 2.4-mile swim, 112 miles on the bike, and running off the bike 26 miles, and that seemed so extreme to me that it kind of captivated me.
Shane set an impossible goal that day. When he got out of jail, he would train for and one day qualify for the Kona Ironman, the world's most grueling triathlon held in Hawaii each year. His hard work would start immediately while completing his sentence in prison.
That intensity of that experience and coming through that changed something inside of me, that I have been given a chance. I'm going to quit using drugs. I'm done being a scumbag. I'm going to change my life. A lot of push-ups and sit-ups in the beginning is basically what I was doing, and eventually that progressed. I was released from prison. The first place I went was to a bike shop. I couldn't drive, so I needed a bike for transportation, but I needed that bike to serve another purpose, which was to train. So I went to this Bob's Bikes and worked out a deal with them, and that's how it started.
Shane's a type A. He's all in, whether it's shooting heroin or training for Kona. Whatever Shane's doing, he's in with both feet, 110%.
As we started training together, I noticed that he had a very kamikaze approach to training. He just wanted to go out there and flog himself and go as hard as he could until he blew up. And I tried to teach him that there are better ways to get the most out of your body than doing it that way.
And I was beginning to feel like a part of the community instead of an outlier. People were accepting of me. People were supportive and very helpful everywhere I went.
I first met Shane on a long training ride in Boulder. I thought he had a very similar background where I was clean cut, straight arrow, you know, healthy, always eating well. Every now and again, he'd drop a little something or other about his past. I wanted to know more. I was intrigued because I didn't see any of that aspect in his personality or his lifestyle.
I was living in Boulder, this place that I had read about. For me, it was this kind of heaven on earth. I was essentially living my dream, and then I met this woman, Mandy, who's my wife now. And it's hard to describe to someone, but if I could live a life of my choosing, I'm living it.
The triathlon really helps him stay level-headed. He knows himself and that he needs to have exercise in his life. Not because he's jonesing for alcohol or because he's jonesing for drugs, but because he's got the higher energy and he needs to expend that energy in a positive manner.
It was the best race that I've ever had to that point. When I crossed that finish line, I almost lost it. When I saw the time board and how fast I had gone, and when I saw where I was in the field, it was very emotional for me because I had worked so hard for so long. And it seemed there was a couple times I had been close to qualifying for Kona, but I made a mistake. And this time I really nailed it. And it was the realization of a dream of mine.
What makes the Kona Ironman so difficult is that it is an Ironman with the best athletes in the world in difficult conditions. What started for him as a couple push-ups in a cell block eventually became qualifying for Hawaii. I think he's becoming the voice for people that have used the sport to turn their lives around in a positive way. I think it's the idea of whatever it was you were doing, tomorrow is a new day, and you can make a choice to do something differently.
I have a responsibility to try to help in any way that I can other people. Having the great fortune of having a book it's a platform for all that. And so life is good. You know, it's what we make of it.
On the verge of qualifying for his 5th straight Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii, Shane Niemeyer continues to prove that anything is possible.